the aggressive and psychotic behavior of the patients who were then and could then be very destructive.
So they were locked up in.
Today, let's make our way over to some of the darkest mental asylums in America. Some are still up and running, but most have been abandoned and left to rot. From an asylum that kept their patients in cages to another that is haunted by the souls of patients that died there. Let's talk about these and more only on today's Top 10 list. But before I go any further, I'd just like to talk to you all about a new streaming service that I use to watch my documentaries on. It's called Magellan TV, and they are kindly the sponsor for today's video. Now, I've talked about them before, and I still continue to use their platform to stream a bunch of documentaries. Magellan TV is a membership streaming service founded by filmmakers that work closely with a team of producers and curators to make premium content that is always informative and takes the audience on a journey deep into the documentary's content. They have over 3,000 titles to choose from, and they add new programs on a weekly basis, so you'll never get bored or run out of things to watch. I just finished watching a documentary called Killer in the Family, and it was intense. It focuses on a number of real individuals in Ireland and the horrific things that have happened to each of them. Each of them have had their loved ones murdered by a member of their family, like a woman named Kathleen, whose 2 sons were killed by her husband, their father. It's pretty dark, but it sheds the light on this situation and explores what may possess someone to do such a dark deed. Now, what's great is that the shows are available in 4K without any additional fees and no ads or commercials. You can even stream it on a number of devices or even cast it from your phone to your TV to watch it on the big screen. If you're interested, go ahead and check the link in the description box for a 1-month free trial with Magellan TV. And they also have gift cards available if you love it and want to gift it to someone else. I mean, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I'd be thrilled if someone gifted me this. So if you're interested, check the link below to unlock Magellan's entire collection of documentaries. And now, on to the video. Starting off this countdown, we have the Danvers Lunatic Asylum. This asylum opened in 1878 in Danvers, Massachusetts. It was part prison and part asylum. At its peak, it had 40 buildings, but could only hold 450 patients. But over time, the asylum started accepting more patients than it could handle. At one point, they had over 2,000 patients, but remember, they could only handle 450, so they were severely understaffed and the building was overcrowded. At this point, those at the hospital weren't getting cured. In fact, they were getting worse and worse. In 1939, a total of 278 patients died in the hospital, all from overcrowding. In fact, half the time, patients' dead bodies weren't discovered until days or weeks later. And if that wasn't bad enough, Danvers used to be Salem Village. Ever heard of the Salem witch trials? Yeah, a lot of people died on those grounds. Coming in at number 9, we have ALTON Mental Health Hospital. Located in Illinois, this facility was built in the early 1900s. Sadly, they used a lot of unethical practices on the patients there, like electric shock therapy, lobotomies, and cold water treatments. This was just an everyday, normal practice at the hospital. Now it's said that this place is extremely haunted. It's still open to this day, and staff, patients, and visitors have all heard unexplainable noises, or doors will just randomly slam closed. One of the creepiest things that happened was to a nurse that worked at the hospital. She was in a room when she heard someone say, "Who's that?" She turned around, but no one was there. Then that same day, a different nurse went into the same room and she heard someone say the exact same thing. Lastly, a bunch of people have taken photos while visiting patients and have caught images and have caught orbs in their photos. One said the orb had a face of a human man in pain. In our 8th spot, we have the TRANS-ALLEGHENY Lunatic Asylum. The TRANS-ALLEGHENY Lunatic Asylum began operating in 1964 and was designed to hold only 250 patients. However, it was soon housing more than 2,400 patients, which was very problematic. The place was extremely overcrowded, and patients started to become more and more violent. Soon, they were starting fires and attacking the staff. At one point, patients were locked in cages or chained up to things like animals. On top of that, some were lobotomized with ice picks. Needless to say, hundreds died there. And guess who was a patient there? None other than Charles Manson. In 1994, the asylum was forced to close due to a lot of violations. Now it's said the building is haunted by the souls of mistreated patients. Moving on to number 7, we have Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Located in Kentucky, this hospital was originally built in 1910 as a hospital for patients with tuberculosis. Sadly, tons of patients there ended up dying from the disease. The hospital did more harm than good. Rumor goes that the hospital was mistreating their patients and conducting experiments on them. It's said that 63,000 deaths took place there. In fact, they had an area in the hospital called the death tunnel or body chute, where they would dump the deceased. It's also said that one nurse hung herself in room 502, and in that same room, another nurse died from falling out of the window. Spooky. The hospital closed in 1961 upon the discovery of an antibiotic that could treat and cure tuberculosis. As a result, there was no need for that hospital. Coming in at number 6, we have CREEDMOOR Psychiatric Hospital. Located in Queens, New York, the CREEDMOOR Psychiatric Hospital opened in 1912, and it's still open to this day, but it doesn't have the best reputation. In the 1970s, rumors began circulating about patients being mistreated there. They thought they could beat the bad out of the patients. In fact, it's said that one nurse hit a patient in a straitjacket across the throat with a club, which ended up crushing his throat, and he died from asphyxiation. Shortly after, the asylum was closed and some areas were left to rot. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Fairfield Hills State Hospital. Located in Newtown, Connecticut, this hospital opened in 1931 to help 2 overpopulated mental hospitals in the same area. But surprise, surprise, this hospital quickly became overcrowded as well, and so they turned to unethical ways to cure their patients, such as lobotomies and hydrotherapy, except they would submerge the patients in ice water, sometimes for more than a day, and they weren't allowed to leave. No, not even if they had to go to the bathroom, they were just stuck there. Needless to say, that made everything worse. Now it's rumored that this hospital is haunted, especially in the tunnels where they used to shuttle patients, the alive ones and the dead ones. In our 4th spot, we have WILLARD Asylum for the Chronic Insane. This is considered one of the darkest places in America, so it all started back in the early 19th century. Those who didn't have anyone to look after them, or those that couldn't look after themselves, were left in shelters. And the shelters were becoming more and more crowded. In response, they opened up this hospital for them. The first patient they ever received was an elderly woman named Mary Rote, who was suffering from dementia. As a result, she spent 10 years chained to her bed. Another patient was a young girl who arrived at the hospital in a chicken crate. The hospital soon became a dumping ground for the undesirable. Sadly, a lot of patients did end up dying there, and they were buried on the grounds in graves marked by numbers, not names. In 1995, when the building closed, workers discovered hundreds of suitcases in the attic of the building. These suitcases belonged to the patients who one day hoped for freedom, but never got it. Coming in at number 3, we have the New Jersey State Lunatic Asylum. This asylum opened up in 1848 under the order of Dr. Henry Cotton, a man who thought mental illness was a result of body infections, which clearly isn't the case. So this belief led to a number of disturbing operations. He would do things like remove patients' teeth, stomachs, ovaries, colons, and bladders, all because he thought that if he removed them, he would just remove the mental health issues they had. But instead, he ended up killing a lot of the patients. Moving on to number 2, we have PENNHURST Asylum. This asylum opened in 1908 and was meant for people with mental and physical disabilities. But soon they expanded and opened their doors to orphans, criminals, and people that just didn't have a place to go. But of course, this led to overcrowding, and it seemed as if the hospital wasn't run in the best manner. If you went there, you were classified as either an imbecile or insane. They truly didn't know how to help patients with mental illnesses. A lot of patients were just strapped to their bed. In fact, one nurse admitted that there was one patient who was bullying others. So, what did she do? She asked a doctor what she could inject him with that would cause him the most pain. That's exactly what she did. She injected him with something and left him to suffer. Not only that, one patient was interviewed and asked what he would like most in the world. He said to get out of Pennhurst. Thankfully, it shut its doors in 1987. And in our number one spot, we have BYBERRY Mental Hospital. Located in Pennsylvania, the BYBERRY Mental Hospital opened its doors in 1907. It actually started as a working farm for patients before turning into a mental hospital in the 1920s. Much like several other hospitals on this list, overpopulation and lack of funding led to patients being mistreated. In fact, some patients were forced to live with no clothing and not enough food. Typically, the hallways would be filled with sewage. Also, in order to cure the patients, they would be placed in solitary confinement, or beat, or subjected to electric shock treatments. In 1990, the hospital was shut down after it was revealed how horrible it really was. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Another huge shout out to Magellan TV, and now let's move on to our comment shout out portion. I'll be shouting out comments from the video Top 10 Dark Things People Did in Mental Asylums Part 2. Why you wanna know ma? Nice name. Commented, when you're performing the show, it makes it so much better. Why? Thank you, why you wanna know ma? That's an interesting name. I kinda like it though. It's catchy, but thank you. Unicat Productions commented, hey, finally a video I can put on while eating. If you're eating anything right now, you should stop. It's true. Some of these videos, it's like you maybe just not eat anything right now because you're just gonna end up feeling really sick. So I was trying to save you. Sorry. Zay Next Door commented, I just dropped my Hot Pocket. No, not the Hot Pocket. Damn, I love those. I hope it's okay. Hope you picked it up, like blew it off, little 5-second rule. I don't know. I hope your Hot Pocket is safe. Alright guys, that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see ya.